Welcome back to Manifest Your Best Life podcast. I am Franny with the Vanny, the manifestation queen, the van life chef, the jack of all trades, the master of some, but better than none. And don't you ever forget it. So sometimes obedience isn't easy, especially when God's plan doesn't match our timing. But every time I've listened, instead of resisting, things fell into place for me. I am naturally a rebel, and I don't like to listen to people. Not for nothing. I just don't like to listen to people. Like, I feel like if you are speaking into my life, you need to have permission to speak into my life, and you should be living a better life than I'm living, or a life that I want to live. Y'all feel me? I just don't like anybody's like telling me what to do and how to do it, especially if they're not living that life or they're not actively working towards living a better life. Anywho, so today's episode is about obedience, and we're going to talk about obedience. I'm going to give you guys a short story that has happened to me recently, but really just every time that I've been obedient to the Spirit, to God, things have worked out for me. Very much so. Recently, I started sewing again. So backstory of that, back in before 2020, or a little after 2020, my ex-boyfriend worked for a moving company. He worked for this moving company, so he used to get a lot of free things, and he used to bring them home, and we used to sell them, or whatever the case is. So he met a lady, and the lady, she had a fabric company, but because of COVID, the fabric had to shut down. The fabric store had to shut down. So at that time, I was like, oh, maybe I can start sewing, and I can learn how to sew, and I can start making certain things and start selling it, so on and so forth. So I did learn how to sew. I got a few sewing lessons from these little old ladies, and I learned how to sew. Not anything like super crazy, but I learned the basics of sewing, and so on and so forth. So fast forward to today, at the time, I just really didn't have the time. Like, there was just so much going on. There was so much I was working on. I got the van, this is happening, that is happening. I didn't have the time, but I put the fabric away and I kept it because I always knew that there was certain things that I would want to make. I've always known that I like crafting and doing all these other things. So fast forward to today, I just realized, I'm like, I have all this extra time, and there is a way with the extra time that I have to make some money. So I learned how to start sewing again. I picked it back up again. And the first 2 days were absolutely horrible. The first 2 days, they sucked. They really, really sucked. Let's see. It worked. So the first 2 days really sucked, and I almost gave up. But I felt God telling me, the Spirit telling me, just keep pushing through. Just keep pushing through. This is going to work out for you. This is going to work out for you. And I didn't have a plan. I didn't know where I was going to sell them. I didn't want to make a website. This is something that I'm just doing just to get some extra money. I didn't really want to put any more money into it. I just wanted to use what I had and then just called it a day. So I just continued learning how to sew, continued doing my thing. And, I started sewing these little tote bags, or whatever the case is. So despite of not really knowing what was coming next, I just continued to sew. And then it hit me. Well, it didn't hit me. I was talking to my daughter's teacher, and she's like, oh, every Saturday I'm going to be at this little flea market type thing. And I'm like, oh my God, I should ask her if she can sell my bags. If maybe I can put in a percentage or whatever the case is, pay half of the booth rental, and then I can have my bags there. She's like, yes, that would be great. I need more inventory, this, that, and the third. So she went on Saturday to this little area, this little flea market downtown Naples, or near like it's in a really nice area in Naples, and 4 of my bags got sold, which I'm so excited about. So saying all that to say, when I started sewing, when I started making these bags, I had really no plan. I just listened to my gut, and sometimes your gut is God leading you. And I just listened to that voice in my head that said, keep going, keep going. Things are going to fall into place. And I kept going, and now it's working out for me. Sometimes God asks you to move or shift directions, and you don't quite understand it, but you don't need to understand it. That's where faith comes in. That's where you have to just continue. You have to just move, and things will always work out. It's always worked out for me. Even though I hate it, you guys. Once again, I'm a rebel. I started that story, or I started saying that, and I didn't even continue. It's just, when you are so spiritually aligned, God puts certain opportunities in your path, or in your vicinity, around you, next to you, beside you. God puts the people in your life that needs to be in your life at every time of your life, if that makes sense. I don't know. I know what I'm trying to say, but I don't think it's coming out right. So when you're asking God for a blessing, and God says, go do this, and you're like, yeah, but God, did you really mean to go do this? God is like, this idiot, I told her to go do this at this time, and she's not obedient, or she's not listening to what I told her to do. You feel me? And too many times we miss out on our blessings. We miss out on the blessings that we're asking God because we're not being obedient. We ask God for something, God is telling us to do something, and we don't do it. It just makes no sense. So for a very long time, I would say for the past 7-8 years, once God tells me to do something, I jump on it and I go do it, because I know that God is opening up he's opening up another door for me, or he's helping me. He's putting me in front of somebody that can help me reach my next goal. Obedience is not always comfortable, but it's purposeful. And at the end of the day, as long obedience is it goes hand in hand with faith. You get what I'm saying? So when you're being obedient, you have to know that, one, you have to know that you don't know shit. But 2, you have to know that things are going to work out the way that they're supposed to work out. Lessons that I've learned with obedience: I've learned patience. What's funny is I'm very impatient, but I'm very patient at the same time. I know it kind of makes no sense, but it's true. I'm very patient but impatient at the same time. I'm impatient if I stand in a line, but I'm patient when I know that I need to be patient. I'm patient when I know things have more purpose, if that makes any sense. I've learned listening even when it doesn't make sense. It's never gonna make sense. That's why we always say hindsight is 2020, because at the end of the day, like, when God tells you to do something right then and there, what? It never makes sense. But at the end of the day, we do it because God told us to do it. As a kid, most of the time, most of us lived pretty decent lives and grew up as pretty decent, with pretty decent parents. We never really understood why our parents told us to do something or not to do something, because that's important as well. But they had their reasoning, and they were trying to protect us. And at the end of the day, when we didn't do what God told us not to do, we learned, and it was like, dang, I had to fall on my ass to learn this. And I could have been, I could have been in the situation where I didn't have to fall on my ass or get burnt by the stovetop, but I decided not to be obedient. So therefore, I had to learn the hard way. Surrendering control and trusting God's timing. Once again, I'm one of those control freaks. I'm one of those rebels. So when you have someone like me that is a very strong-minded, very like, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Me. Get out of my way. If you're not doing it right, shut up. Get out of my way. It's hard for you to listen to other people. It's hard for you to trust God's timing. It's hard for you to trust God's timing. But what I've learned, the more that I'm obedient to God's word, the Spirit, the better things work out for me. The more that I'm obedient, the more things fall into place for me. The more that I'm obedient, it's like I'm on to the next level. You're starting a game and the game has 50 levels. And every time you're obedient to God, you get to another level. The more that you're obedient, the quicker you go through the levels. Some levels, you decided to do your own thing and not be obedient. So therefore, you were stuck on level 15. Level 15 should have only took you a year, right? But you decided to not be obedient to God. So you got stuck on level 15 for about 2 years. And now you're 2 years, you're looking at your life and you're just like, shit, how did I get here? Oh, I didn't listen to God. I wasn't obedient to the word. I wasn't obedient to the Spirit. I wasn't obedient. So now you're stuck and you're just like, dang, now I got to clean up all this mess because I can't beat this level 15, which is the game is life, right? Or God is like, I'm taking you on this pathway instead of this pathway. On level 16, you got 2 pathways you could choose. But I want you to go left instead of going right. And you're like, yeah, I know you said you wanted me to go left, but over there on the right side, there's a fine ass man over there that's calling my name. And God is like, you gonna be obedient or you not gonna be obedient? Sometimes I get so worked up and I just have to laugh at myself. But God is like, are you going to be obedient or you not going to be obedient? And you're like, maybe that wasn't God. And you decide to take left or you decide to go right. And you go right. And there goes level 16. Now you stuck on level 16 for 6 months. But level 16 could have only lasted you 1 month, but now you stuck on level 16 for 3 months, 6 months, 8 months because you didn't want to be obedient to the word. Anywho, how I'm going to end this off as no, always follow the path, God's path. When God tells you to jump, just jump. Because sometimes, and of course, you have to know the voice of God. You have to know when God's telling you to do something. And that's a whole different topic. However, when it comes down to it, when God tells you to be obedient, that's a test. It's a test within itself. It's a test, and it's a test that you must take. And when you decide not to take it, you either prolong your success or prolong whatever else that you're going to prolong, or whatever the case is. But when you're obedient, I've learned I gave you guys just a very short sowing story, but there's many times in my life God has told me to do something. I'm like, here we go again. But I've done it. And when I've done it, it has very much so benefited me and helped me get to the next level in my life. So the affirmation of the week is, I trust God's plan for me. I am obedient, patient, and ready to receive blessings. I trust God's plan for me. I am obedient, patient, and ready to receive blessings. I know this episode today was a little quicker. It really wasn't that much quicker. But anywho, until next time, like, comment, share. Tell me a time that you guys should have been obedient and you guys weren't obedient.